When season 2 of Squid Game dropped, it reminded everyone of how the hit show became a global phenomenon in the first place. But now that season 3 has come to an end, officially closing the Squid Game chapter, fans can't help but ask, were the previous seasons better? There seems to be a general consensus among viewers that the first season of Squid Game was the best. It's the one that generated the hype after all. However, many fans were also pleasantly surprised by how season 2 turned out, as it introduced new fan favorite characters and delved into certain plot lines with a lot more depth. Of course, the expectations for season 3, which was also the finale, were sky high. Unfortunately, the public was let down, as many felt like the final season completely missed the mark, even arguing that season 2 was way better for several reasons. This is also reflected in the percentage of positive critic reviews, which massively declined when the third season dropped. One of the reasons why many believe that the third season was a worse addition compared to season 2 is that the new games introduced were incredibly boring and empty. It's not just that they lacked creativity, it's that they completely failed to build any real suspense or emotional weight. Most criticism went to games such as Jump Rope and Sky Squid Game because they felt utterly pointless. In the case of Jump Rope, netizens commented that there was no real danger or tension for Gihun to make it to the other side. On the contrary, it seemed like the task was a breeze for him as he quickly crossed the bridge without breaking a sweat. To many, this made the entire game feel meaningless and rushed, as the scene barely had anything to add, feeling like a filler level in a mobile game. Similarly, fans disliked the concept of Sky Squid Game, which some even thought was the worst final game in the entire show. Fans argued that the game's setup was confusing, that the execution felt rushed, and that overall, there was no emotional impact. Instead of providing us with a meaningful showdown between developed finalists, the creative team gave us a battle between a crowd of 9 almost faceless characters, most of whom felt like background extras who somehow slipped through and made it to the finale. The game boiled down to pressing a button and hoping you weren't the one getting eliminated, meaning there was no strategy, no psychological tension, and no real drama. What makes these developments even more frustrating is how season 2 proved that the show could still reinvent the games without losing what made it powerful in the first place. In the previous season, the games were clever, brutal, and full of unpredictability, from the return of red light, green light to brand new games that raised the bar in terms of both visuals and storytelling. Moving on, one of the strongest elements of Squid Game season 2 was its ability to introduce deeper and more emotionally driven character arcs. Unlike the first season, which was originally structured as a straightforward story with relatively simple characterizations, season 2 had the freedom and courage to slow down and let its cast evolve. With the second season's games stretching across multiple episodes, the pacing allowed us to truly connect with the new participants, not just as contestants, but as people with complicated backstories, relationships, and inner conflicts. Every decision they made felt loaded, every alliance or betrayal felt earned, and the tension was constantly amplified because we actually cared about who was surviving. Even characters like the front man and the salesman were explored in more detail, exposing their motivations and regrets that added intrigue to the show. So naturally, when season 3 dropped, the expectation was that this deep dive into the characters' stories would continue, that we would see existing arcs come full circle, and that we would feel the crushing consequences of every choice the players made. But that's not entirely what happened. Instead, the final season threw development out the window in favor of rushed storytelling and lazy character management. The characters placed in the foreground barely had any room to grow before they were eliminated, and the few who did make it to the later stages of the game felt like placeholders. Character arcs that were carefully built in season 2 were suddenly thrown away, instead presenting us with motivations and decisions that made little sense and contradicted what we already knew about them. And worst of all, the body count skyrocketed so quickly that by the time we reached the final round, there was hardly anyone left to root for. A solid example of a character arc that felt completely wasted is that of Junho, the promising detective whose storyline turned out so badly that fans are still wondering why he was brought back at all. Back in season 1, Junho quickly became a fan favorite, and when he survived that dramatic cliffside shooting, viewers were convinced his return in season 2 was setting up something huge. Maybe a long-awaited confrontation with his brother Inho, or a much-needed backstory that would explain how two brothers ended up on such violently opposite sides of the same twisted system. Unfortunately, season 2 already gave off warning signs that his character was being sidelined. His scenes felt disconnected distracted from the main plot, and even though fans kept watching in hopes it was all building towards something meaningful in the final season, that payoff never came. Season 3 had the perfect opportunity to wrap up his arc with emotional weight, but instead it just left him in the background, making choices that felt completely out of character, ignoring blatant red flags, and blindly trusting people he shouldn't. The captain he followed around was suspicious from the start, and even when Mr. Choi handed him proof that the guy couldn't be trusted, Junho shrugged it off and kept walking straight into obvious traps. It was frustrating to watch, not just because it made no sense, but because it undermined everything we thought we knew about his instincts and intelligence. And in the end, the long-awaited confrontation between Junho and his brother gave us nothing. Fans, at the very least, expected some answers or a sense of closure, which was completely disregarded. Similarly, Myunggi's arc in season 3 left fans scratching their heads, not because he was that complex, but because his behavior made absolutely no sense compared to what had been set up in season 2. As player 333, Myunggi had already started to show some morally gray tendencies, but there was still a sense that he was a layered character, someone shaped by desperation, not just pure evil. We were given glimpses of a man who was deeply flawed, yes, but still human, someone who might spiral under pressure, but wasn't entirely beyond saving, especially after seeing Junhee and the baby struggling. So to see him suddenly go full villain mode at the end of season 3, to the point of being willing to sacrifice his own infant daughter, felt like a wild twist. There's no denying that one of the most powerful and refreshing aspects of Squid Game Season 2 was how it centered female characters in a way the first season hadn't. It gave us women with depth, with motive, with backstories that actually mattered. And honestly, at the heart of that was Hyunju. Her identity as a trans woman wasn't used as a gimmick or reduced to a side note. It was an important part of the story in a very meaningful and human way. She wasn't just playing the game for herself. She was fighting to protect Junhee and Gumja, holding on to a fragile hope that maybe she could make it out alive and offer something better to the people she grew to care for. It made her passing all the more heartbreaking, not just because she passed, but because of how it happened. Getting stabbed in the back by Myunggi felt less like a tragic plot twist and more like a lazy shock moment thrown in for impact without any real payoff. For a character who had been written with so much care and potential, her end felt cruelly abrupt, like the writers had no idea what to do with her once she stopped serving the storyline they had in mind. Gumja was yet another character incredibly loved by viewers, and it felt like her storyline also collapsed under the final season's lack of follow-through. Her arc, centered around her determination to protect her son and save the baby, should have been one of the most gut-wrenching parts of the series. Instead, it ended in a recycled tragedy that felt eerily familiar to fans of the first season. We'd already seen this before, a player forced to take the life of someone they love only to end their own life out of guilt. Some believed it didn't make sense for her to take her son's life, as he was the reason she was playing the games in the first place. Not to mention, during the games, she kept emphasizing wanting to be there for her son, Junhee, and the baby, only to end up betraying all in devastating ways. Perhaps the most aggravating shift in season 3 was the complete change of Gihun's character, to the point where he felt almost unrecognizable. In season 2, his motivations were sharp and clear. He wasn't playing the games to survive, but to dismantle the system. He led an uprising, inspired others to resist, and refused to lose his sense of humanity even in the face of brutality. There was a fire in him, a sense of purpose that kept both the players and the audience grounded, even when everything around him was falling apart. But throughout season 3, that same Gihun completely disappeared. He barely spoke, rarely reacted, and floated through the games with a kind of hollow detachment that felt totally different from the man we'd been following for 2 seasons. And he didn't connect with the players, didn't show emotion, and didn't really do anything. Instead of being the moral compass and emotional anchor of the show, he was sidelined into a ghost of himself, focused on clearing the path for the baby to win. The way Gihun handled the Daeho situation is yet another point of the season that fans can't make sense of. Throughout Squid Game, Gihun put himself at risk to save countless people, even if they weren't necessarily worth the hassle. But this time around, he took Daeho's life with no second thoughts. And what made it worse was that Daeho wasn't even responsible for Jungbei's passing, a loss that was clearly haunting Gihun throughout the season. Instead of channeling that grief in a way that reflected his usual personality, Gihun Gihun lashed out blindly, turning into someone cold, vengeful, and unfamiliar. And when he finally discovered that it was Inho who was truly behind Jungbei's passing, he didn't even confront him. And if that all wasn't enough, Season 3's over-reliance on CGI only made things worse. One of the things that made the earlier seasons so intense was how real everything felt. But this time around, it looked more like a video game cutscene than a survival competition, especially when it comes to the jump rope scene. Things ended up looking cheesier than usual, losing the raw visuals that we had grown to love. Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss the next one. Now that we've broken down why Season 2 stands out, let's take a closer look at the subtle details you might have completely overlooked. The second season of Squid Game is already one of the most watched and talked about K-dramas of the past few years, but many viewers have missed a lot of interesting hidden details. The first season was already filled with a lot of symbolism and hidden meanings, and many of these details return in the sequel. Among the most notable ones is the real meaning of the jumpsuits worn by the staff of the Squid Game. The director of the series, Hwang Dong-hyuk, previously explained that at first he wanted a Boy Scout-like outfit, but these revealed too much about the people behind the masks, so he decided to hide their entire bodies instead, adding a hoodie to cover their heads. The red color of the jumpsuits also symbolizes the danger of the competition and the entire system behind it. These outfits are now among the most famous aspects of the entire series, and the 3 different masks with a circle, a triangle, and a square are iconic. While everybody knows that these symbols identify a different position among the staff hierarchy, many viewers don't realize that there's another meaning too. The 3 shapes actually represent letters in the Korean alphabet, which are present in the Korean name of Squid Game, Ojingo Game. The circle represents the letter O, the triangle is part of the letter J, and the square symbolizes the letter M, as shown in the Korean logo of the series. Another interesting detail spans from the final moments of Season 1 into Season 2. One of the first things that everyone noticed when watching the sequel is that the protagonist, Song Gihun, has red hair at the start of the first episode. He actually changed his hair color at the very end of the first season, changing from his regular black to a much more vibrant red, which is a pretty dramatic transformation. This curious change left many viewers baffled, especially after the teasers for Season 2 showed Gihun returning to his regular black hair. The director explained why this change happened, stating that Gihun's red hair was intended to reflect the character's shift in personality from funny and naive to determined and tenacious. He added that he thought about this because he imagined that Gihun would never dye his hair red, and it would be too crazy for him. That's why he chose this color to represent his inner anger and how he can never go back to his normal life after experiencing the brutality of the Squid Game. However, there's also another reason why he chose to dye Gihun's hair red. Director Hwang explained that he actually got the idea from the Japanese manga Slam Dunk, which made him think about red hair as a symbol of being abnormal. However, in Season 2, Gihun soon ditches his red hair and returns to his normal black color. The reason behind this hasn't been fully explained, but it might symbolize Gihun's return to the Squid Game and his willingness to blend in with the other players. Many other hidden details are instead exclusive to the second season. One of the most iconic moments of the sequel is a scene from the first episode in which the game recruiter, played by Gongyu, gives a group of hungry people a choice between a loaf of bread and a scratch lottery ticket. This actually symbolizes the choice between leaving the game and continuing the competition that's given to the players in the Squid Game. Opting to take the bread means choosing safety and represents the red button, which allows players to leave the game. Taking the lottery ticket instead means trying to get a lot of money with a tiny chance of success, just like choosing the blue button and continuing the game. Adding more to the symbolism, when Gihun gets into the car, which leads him back to the Squid Game, the front man mentions the blue and red pills from the Matrix. In this series, taking the blue pill means to keep on dreaming, while choosing the red pill means discovering how ugly the world really is. From the front man's distorted point of view, the blue button means giving people a chance to keep on dreaming of a better future, while the red one means living an awful life. Another notable moment of the second season is the red light green light game. This competition was already one of the most iconic aspects of the series, being the first game, and this time it's less chaotic as Gihun already knows what's going to happen and tries to save everyone. While many players don't believe what Gihun is saying at first, they still follow his instructions until the demise of the first competitor sends the game into chaos. The mayhem begins after a bee lands on player 196 and she freaks out and moves, leading the guards to take her life. However, this seems a bit too convenient, and it's unclear where the bee comes from, as the entire competition happens inside a tightly controlled environment, and the arena for the red light green light game had its roof opened just before the game began. For this reason, it seems possible that the bee was released by the game's organizers to unleash some chaos and make the competition more enjoyable for the VIPs watching it. Indeed, an entire game with no one passing away would be a disappointment for them, and the staff wouldn't mind rigging the competition for fun, especially at the start. Also, the frontman knows very well that Gihun is aiming to save everyone, and he likely planned to rig the game to derail his plans and make him suffer even more. While this seems like a logical aspect of the plot, it hasn't been explained yet, and it might return in the third season. There's a range of various other, smaller details throughout the different competitions, which would be difficult to understand for international viewers. For example, when the players enter the arena for the six-legged pentathlon game, a slogan that loosely translates to "strongly, energetically, firmly" can be seen above the entrance. These words were historically used in South Korean schools to encourage kids to play sports, but in the context of the Squid Game, they take a much more ominous tone. The song played in the background during this part of the competition is the 1988 track "To You" by Shin Hae-chul, which is often used to this day to cheer on teams at school festivals and sports events. Another detail that might be obvious for Korean viewers but hard to understand for international ones is how the guards refer to No-ul, a North Korean defector working as part of the staff of the games. In a scene in which she's being attacked by two male guards, one of them says a phrase that literally translates to "South man, North woman." This is an old saying that predates the division of Korea and means that men from the South are stereotypically thought to be more handsome, while women from the North are traditionally regarded as more beautiful. Also, since most North Korean defectors are women, a sign in the office of the broker who helps defectors reads "Marriage between a South Korean man and a North Korean woman." Another tiny detail about No-ul is that she doesn't speak in a North Korean accent, just like Se-byok in the first season. This is because many North Korean defectors who live in the South deliberately hide their accents to blend in and avoid potential discrimination. One more detail that needs some knowledge of the Korean language to be understood surrounds the fake name given by the frontman to the other players, Oh Young-il. Yong literally means 0, while il means 1. Since the O looks like the number 0, Oh Young-il sounds like 001 in Korean, which is also the frontman's number in the game. Also, in the first season, the name of player 001, who was actually the creator of the Squid Game, was Oh Il-nam. The frontman's fake name also has the surname Oh, hinting at the connection between them. Speaking of the frontman, one of the most notable aspects of the second season is how he gains the trust of Gihun and the other players by competing alongside them in the games, only to betray them in the final episode. At the end of the season, the players are split 50-50 between continuing the games or leaving the competition, and the two sides have a brutal fight. Gihun and his group use this opportunity to attack the guards and take their weapons, launching a plan to infiltrate the headquarters of the staff and stop the game. As the rebellion fails, Gihun and his friend Jongbae split from the other players, and the front man sends a radio message pretending that he is passing away. This is when the front man finally returns to his masked appearance, taking the life of Jongbae, who was next to Gihun. The show then fades to black, marking the end of the season and leaving viewers on a cliffhanger. However, there's one more scene that hints at what's going to happen in season 3. A brief post-credits scene shows the players walking up to the motion sensor doll from the red light green light game, but this time there's also another gigantic doll sitting across from the original one. This scene ends with the lights turning from red to green, suggesting that the games will continue in some form after the failed rebellion. Fans are already theorizing about what might happen in the third season, but thankfully, the wait shouldn't be long as the sequel is set to be released in 2025. What are your theories for the third season? But behind all those hidden clues and camera tricks were some real struggles the cast had to face while filming. The second season of Squid Game has recently been released after years of anticipation, and while many iconic moments captured the attention of viewers, filming some of these was pretty difficult for the cast. Many of the challenges for the cast came from playing the games featured in the show for real. Similar to what happened in season 1, in the sequel, the Squid Game begins with red light, green light. Yim Shi-won, who plays the character of Myunggi, explained that the cast had to actually play the game and confessed that standing still was much harder than he expected. He even said that most of the cast members wouldn't have been able to succeed if they played this game for real. Instead, in the show, many players complete the challenge following the instructions of the protagonist, Song Gihun, portrayed by Lee Jong-jae, who yells at the competitors to stand still. Jong-jae confessed that he ended up hurting his throat after shouting like that, but the other members of the cast praised his ability to yell without losing his voice. The following game was the pentathlon challenge, and this was one of the most iconic parts of the second season. In this challenge, the competitors were divided into teams of 5, and they had to complete 5 different games before the time limit expired while their legs were tied together. It seems like this was one of the most enjoyable parts of filming for the cast, but it was also among the most difficult. The first challenge was Dakji, a game already made famous by its appearance in the first season of Squid Game. In the show, Junho, played by Jo Yuri, was able to flip the Dakji on her first try, but she actually revealed that this was far from the truth. Yuri confessed that while filming, she couldn't flip the Dakji despite many tries, so the director had to use CGI to make it look like she succeeded. In the second game, the players had to throw a rock to knock down another stone placed vertically. This was the game played by Young-shik, a character portrayed by Yang Dong-gun, and he revealed that he thought the director would just use CGI, but instead, he was told to play the game for real. Dong-gun felt a bit intimidated by this task, since hundreds of staff and cast members were watching him, but he was able to succeed anyway. The most talked about game of the pentathlon challenge is arguably Gongji, in which players have to toss and catch small pebbles. This is the most difficult among the 5 games, and in the show it was played by Dae-ho, portrayed by Kang Han-ul. In Squid Game 2, Dae-ho amazes the other competitors with his skills and speed while completing the challenge, but Han-ul confessed that he wasn't actually the one doing all the tricks. He shared that he practiced a lot to play the game, but he still couldn't succeed. Han-ul explained that since his pinkies are a bit separated from the other fingers, the pebbles kept falling between his pinky and his ring finger. Because of this issue, the director had to hire a Gongji master to play the game instead, and Han-ul felt relieved that he didn't have to complete the challenge himself. The Gongji master was a man named Park Jong-nam, who had previously demonstrated his skills on Korean TV shows. He talked about his experience with Squid Game, sharing that Han-ul helped him to calm down before and after the shoot, and he also gave him some bread as a gift. The next game was Spinning Top, and in the show, In-ho, played by Lee Byung-hun, fails the challenge multiple times and slaps himself again and again before finally succeeding. Byung-hun revealed that while filming this moment, he actually slapped himself quite hard, but he wasn't too worried about the pain. Instead, since the scene had to be filmed 3 times, he was worried that the bruises he was inflicting himself would become visible. In the end, the makeup was enough to cover the bruises, but there was another unexpected issue while filming this scene. Lee So-hwan, who plays the part of Jongbae, revealed that Byung-hun was actually too good at the game and he was able to make the top spin every time, even though he was supposed to fail. Even when throwing the top with his eyes closed and backward, he still succeeded every time. Byung-hun explained that he actually had some problems with this challenge since he's right-handed while his character is left-handed. He was worried that this would result in him failing over and over, so he practiced for months and ended up becoming good at the game. The final challenge of the pentathlon was Jegi Chagi, a game in which players have to kick a kind of shuttlecock called Jegi to keep it from falling. This was another hard challenge for the cast, and in the show, the game was played by various notable characters such as Myunggi and Gihun. Siwon explained that he practiced non-stop for 2 days, but he wasn't able to kick the jagi in the correct way, so he decided to kick it with his legs straight instead, and this ended up working perfectly for him. Jong-jae also shared that he had to practice a lot to play this game, and at one point he always carried the jagi with him so he could practice more. After the pentathlon challenge, the next game for the competitors was Mingle, in which the players had to divide themselves into groups and enter the designated rooms. A notable moment during this game is when Young-shik gets separated from his mom, Gumja, played by Kang Ae-shim, before they finally reunite. Ae-shim revealed that filming this moment was emotionally heavy for her, and she couldn't neither laugh nor cry. When they re-watched this scene together, both Ae-shim and Dong-gun ended up crying, which shows just how much the touching storyline of the 2 characters has impacted them. Dong-gun actually revealed that this moment was so heavy that he felt uncomfortable, and at one point, he almost turned down the role because he didn't want to act in this scene. He even confessed that he felt sick just thinking about this moment, and he kept being reminded of his own mother. But in the end, he was still able to film the scene successfully. The second season of Squid Game not only included new games, but also numerous new characters. One of the most notable additions was No-ul, Junho, a North Korean defector who works as a guard and is played by Park Sung Hoon. She talked about her character, expressing how excited she was to play one of the guards, while many expected her to be a competitor. Because of her unique role, her experience while filming was a bit different than that of most of the cast. For example, she filmed her part during the red light, green light games separately from the rest of the cast, so she had to act while imagining the competitors playing the game. Gihun also explained that a staff member taught her how to hold her weapon and how to breathe while using it, and it turned out to be much more difficult than she expected. While many new characters from the second season quickly became iconic, the show also put a lot of focus on returning characters, such as the frontman, Junho, who joins the games while disguising himself as one of the players. Byung-hun explained that he tried to act like one of the players in the game without making it too obvious that he was actually the frontman. Since his part in season 1 was very different, being a competitor felt unfamiliar and new for Byung-hun, and it took some time for him to get used to his new role. He confessed that one of the most difficult moments to film was the scene in which Junho tells Gihun that he joined the game because his pregnant wife has a severe illness. Byung-hun explained that his character has multiple personalities, and in that scene, he wasn't sure if he should be more genuine or if he should take Inho's confession as one of his many strategies. Choosing which one of Inho's personalities to emphasize in each scene proved to be quite a challenge for Byung-hun, and he had to pay close attention to every detail. In the end, he was satisfied by his performance and even praised his own acting. Another iconic character that has become well known since the first season is the game recruiter played by Gong-yoo, who made a return in the sequel and played an important role in the first episode. Gong-yoo's performance in this role has received widespread acclaim, and his acting has been described as insane and groundbreaking to the point that some are calling him the Korean Joker. One of the most notable moments featuring Gong-yoo is the scene in which the recruiter and Gihun play a game of Russian roulette at the end of the first episode. Jongjae explained that this scene has a very cinematic feel, and the production team crafted this moment carefully. They didn't want it to feel too dramatic since it was just the first episode, but they still wanted to create intrigue and suspense. Jongjae shared that he put a lot of thought into how to calibrate his emotions and his voice to capture the feeling that he wanted to communicate to the viewers. He definitely succeeded, and this scene became iconic also thanks to Gong-yoo's incredible performance. Jongjae expressed high praise for his co-star, describing him as charismatic and mischievous, but also frightening at the same time. Despite the many challenges, the cast had a lot of fun filming Squid Game 2, and their effort has been repaid by the success of the show, which has topped the Netflix viewership charts in every country. And the challenges didn't just start on set. Just getting cast in season 2 came with its own tough competition. The brand new season of Squid Game introduced us to some new faces, with some of them being extremely popular in the entertainment world. Let's dive into how these actors landed their roles because, spoiler alert, it wasn't an easy journey. Let's start with player 222, also known as Kim Junhee, played by none other than Jo Yuri. From idol to actress, her path to one of the most talked about roles in Squid Game is as thrilling as the show itself. But how did she land the gig that skyrocketed her acting career? Before Squid Game, Yuri was best known as a member of the girl group IZ*ONE, captivating fans with her voice and charm. After the group's disbandment, she began exploring acting, proving she's more than just an idol. She had already shown promise in smaller roles, but nothing could have prepared her for the global attention that came with Squid Game. The road to becoming player 222 wasn't exactly smooth, because it turns out her company sent her the audition details completely last minute, meaning she had very little time to prepare. In a YouTube video, Yuri revealed that she was in Busan visiting her family when she found out about the role. She was enjoying some time with her loved ones, and suddenly she was told to pack up and audition for one of the biggest global series out there. It's not hard to imagine Yuri probably felt bad about leaving, but her mother wasn't about to let her miss this opportunity. When Yuri told her family about the audition, her mother immediately told her to hurry and go. But Yuri wasn't just battling time. The auditions themselves were also really intense. Speaking about the experience, she said, "I safely made it through the first audition, and I got a call back for the second audition. I wasn't sure how it went because although I gave it my all, I felt like I might not have made it." Despite the fact she had little time to shake off the whirlwind of emotions from her last-minute journey, Yuri completed each audition round one by one, proving she had the talent and determination to be part of the show. She revealed that the audition process consisted of 4 grueling auditions, and in true Squid Game fashion, she survived all of them. Yuri found out she landed the role while she was working. She explained that usually when she's at work, her director avoids calling her, but this time around, something was off because her phone kept ringing. When she finally decided to pick up, she received the great news that she would be playing the part of player 222, and the rest is history. After gaining a lot of praise for her acting and her amazing portrayal of Junhee, Yuri's acting future is looking very bright. She has also revealed that in the future she'd like to explore more action-packed dramas and focus on playing unpredictable characters, so we have a lot to look forward to. Moving on, let's talk about the role of Cho Hyunju, a trans woman who decided to participate in the games to fund her gender-affirming surgeries. Her plan was to win the games and then move to Thailand to live a better life. Hyunju is played by cisgender actor Park Sung Hoon, which sparked a lot of controversy because the inclusion of a transgender character in itself, a huge Korean drama, is a very big deal. South Korea is known for being pretty conservative when it comes to LGBTQ+ issues, as same-sex marriage isn't legal, and conversations about gender identity are often considered taboo. So, the decision to introduce a trans character in such a high-profile series had many people applauding the bold choice, while others criticized the move. Although there were some transphobic responses and comments from the public, the biggest controversy wasn't even about the character herself, but about Song Hoon's casting. Many viewers felt it was a missed opportunity to cast a real trans woman and offer authentic representation. Some stated that having a cisgender man play the role wasn't the right way to highlight such an important community. The criticism was loud, but others were quick to defend the decision, saying the inclusion of Hyunju's character alone was already a bold step for a mainstream show in South Korea. The backlash grew so much to the point that director Hwang Dong-hyuk had to address the issue himself. In an interview with TV Line, he explained his casting choices, stating that he had already anticipated the criticism from the moment he began creating Hyunju's character. However, it turns out that he wanted to cast an openly trans actress to authentically portray Hyunju from the start, but after extensive research, it became clear how challenging this would be. In South Korea, openly LGBTQ+ actors, let alone trans actors, are almost non-existent due to the heavy marginalization of the LGBTQ+ community within the country. The director described this reality as heartbreaking and shared his disappointment that it was nearly impossible to find someone who could take on the role. Ultimately, the choice to cast Song Hoon came down to necessity, but it wasn't made lightly. The director emphasized his confidence in Song Hoon, explaining that he had followed his career since his debut and was convinced that his talent and dedication made him the best person to bring Hyunju's complex story to life. While the casting may not have been what everyone hoped for, the director expressed hope that this character could still spark important conversations and pave the way for more inclusive storytelling in the future. Moving on, did you know that Yang Dong-gun, who plays the role of Young-shik, almost declined the role after reading the script for the pairing game? The emotional weight of the scene, where Young-shik lets go of his mother's hand, left Dong-gun deeply shaken to the point that he seriously considered turning down the role, overwhelmed by the idea of portraying such raw and heartbreaking emotions. As he explained, the thought of saying, "I'm sorry, Mom," on screen hit close to home because it was something he'd never been able to express in real life. Despite his initial hesitation, Dong-gun decided to take on the challenge, channeling his personal feelings into the performance. He revealed that he even felt physically ill before filming the scene, which just proves how emotionally invested he was. Ultimately, his decision to embrace the vulnerability paid off, as his honest portrayal of Young-shik brought incredible depth to the character. Paired with Kang Ae-shim's powerful performance as Young-shik's mother, Gum-ja, their scenes in the pairing game have become some of the most talked about moments in season 2. Next, let's talk about how Park Gyu-young ended up playing Kang No-ul. Her character is a North Korean defector who becomes a game officer, and getting the role wasn't as simple as being handed the script. Gyu-young actually had to go through 2 auditions to land the part. It wasn't until after she was cast that she found out she'd be playing one of the mysterious pink guards, which made things even more exciting for her, as this role gives fans a closer look at how the games are run and expands the show's intense world. Even though Gyu-young has starred in some big dramas, auditioning for Squid Game 2 felt like a huge opportunity she couldn't pass up. She knew how massive the show had become after season 1 and understood the pressure that came with joining such a globally loved series. Opening up about her fears, she said, "It would be a lie to say I didn't feel pressure following the unprecedented success of season 1. The role I played is both big and small, and I wanted to convey the character's full history within the given script screen time. In the end, everything worked out perfectly and she gave us an unforgettable performance. It's undeniable that director Dong Hyuk made a few interesting choices for the drama, and one of them was casting Lee Jin-wook. Although there's not much we know about his casting process, we do know that his inclusion in the drama caused a lot of controversy. Jin-wook plays one of the competitors in the games, a father desperate to win so he can pay for his terminally ill daughter's treatment. Although he's had a pretty successful acting career, it all came crashing down in 2016 when he was accused of forcing himself on a woman. This led to a messy legal battle, and eventually the court ruled there wasn't enough evidence to convict him. Still, many felt the ruling was questionable, and the controversy has stuck with him ever since. To this day, a large part of the public believes Jin-wook was guilty and argues that he doesn't deserve a platform in the entertainment industry. Earlier this year, when Jin-wook was announced as the lead for Dear Yeri, a drama focused on healing, fans were quick to voice their anger. Many said his casting was inappropriate and triggering given the nature of the show. When Netflix revealed Jin-wook would appear in season 2 of Squid Game, the backlash hit an even bigger stage. Furious fans flooded social media, with some announcing they'd boycott the series altogether. Last up is the controversial decision to cast Big Bang's T.O.P. to play the role of Thanos, a rapper competing in the games. While fans were intrigued by the idea of the K-pop idol stepping into such a high-profile role, his casting quickly became one of the most controversial topics surrounding season 2. T.O.P., whose real name is Choi Sung-hyun, is no stranger to fame. As a former member of the iconic boy band Big Bang, he dominated charts and stages worldwide. He also earned praise for his acting skills in earlier projects. However, his career was completely ruined in 2017 when he was caught up in a huge scandal. While serving his mandatory military service, T.O.P. was investigated for using illegal substances. Just days after the news broke, he was found unconscious after an apparent overdose of tranquilizers and was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Although he survived and later pleaded guilty to the charges, receiving a 10-month prison sentence, the scandal left a permanent mark on his public image. Despite expressing regret and completing his probation and military service, many fans and critics couldn't forgive or forget. His past resurfaced with full force when it was announced that he would appear in season 2 of Squid Game. Director Dong Hyuk eventually spoke out against the criticism, saying he didn't expect such a strong reaction. He explained that T.O.P. had already served his sentence, and enough time had passed since his scandal, so he didn't think casting him would be an issue. Hwang also praised T.O.P.'s work ethic on set, saying he showed real dedication and earned the role, but fans weren't entirely convinced. Things got even more heated when lead actor Lee Jung-jae was dragged into the mix. Fans discovered that Jung-jae had a past connection to T.O.P., sparking rumors that he might have used his influence to secure T.O.P.'s role as Thanos. Jung-jae's team was quick to shut these claims down, clarifying that casting decisions were solely made by the director and production company. Netflix also had to weigh in, confirming that all casting choices were based on the creator's vision and had nothing to do with the actor's connections. But the drama didn't stop with Jung-jae. The spotlight soon shifted to Lee Byung-hun. Netizens pointed out that T.O.P.'s current entertainment manager is the former head of Byung-hun's agency, fueling suspicions that their close ties might have played a role in T.O.P.'s casting. While there's no concrete evidence for any of these rumors, it's safe to say that his casting created a hot mess. Now that we know how they made it in, let's rewind and see where you might have spotted these actors long before Squid Game. There's a lot of hype surrounding the upcoming second season of Squid Game, and one of the reasons is that it's going to feature quite a few new characters played by familiar faces. The new season of Squid Game will see various actors reprising their iconic roles, such as Lee Jung-jae as the protagonist Song Gihun and Lee Byung-hun as the villainous frontman, while Lee Ha-jun will once again be the police officer Hwang Junho, and Gong-yoo will return as the recruiter of the game. Alongside them, various new cast members have been added to play the new characters, including some rising stars such as Kim Shi-eun and Won Ji-yeon. Shi-eun is still quite new to the world of entertainment, as she made her K-drama debut in 2017. After playing a few small roles here and there, her breakthrough came in 2022 when she acted as the main character in the movie Next Sohee. Despite being a newcomer, she impressed viewers and critics with her performance, and she won several awards. While we don't know what her role in Squid Game 2 will be, surely it's going to boost her career even more. Ji-yeon is even newer newer to the entertainment industry, but she has already appeared in some major roles. She made her debut in 2021 with a small part in the drama DP and later also starred in the show's second season. Soon after her debut, she got leading roles in the movie A Year-End Medley and the series Hope or Dope, and then impressed viewers with her performance in If You Wish Upon Me. Her most notable role was in the series Heartbeat in 2023, when she acted as the female lead forming an on-screen couple with Ok Taek-yeon. Similarly to Shi-eun, it's still unknown what role she will take in Squid Game 2, but it'll be another big step forward for her career. Most of the cast of the second season of Squid Game will instead be formed by established celebrities who are already well known by the public. Among these is Kang Ha-neul, who has already been featured in numerous major roles during his successful career. After debuting as a teenager, he slowly rose to prominence with some small roles and gained the attention of the public thanks to his appearances in the dramas Monstar and The Heirs in 2013. These roles launched his career to new heights, and he got several notable roles in series such as Misang in Complete Life, Moonlovers, Scarlet Heart Rio, When the Camellia Blooms, and Insider. Meanwhile, he's also become a prolific movie actor, starring in numerous films including 20, Midnight Runners, and Forgotten. In Squid Game 2, he will play Dae-ho, one of the competitors. Yang Dong-gun will also take the role of one of the competitors, Park Young-sik, and he's probably one of the most experienced members of the cast, having debuted in the entertainment industry over 30 years ago. He's taken all kinds of roles during his long career, and his most notable appearances were in the dramas I Am Your Teacher and The Three Musketeers. More recently, he has played the role of the father of the female lead in Secret Playlist. Outside acting, Dong-gun is also a hip-hop recording artist and producer, better known in the music world as YDG. Another established name who joined the cast of Squid Game 2 is Park Sung Hoon, who has been active in the entertainment world since 2006. He began to become popular thanks to his supporting roles in dramas such as 3 Days, Six Flying Dragons, and Jealousy Incarnate. His performances led him to several leading roles, most notably in the horror movie Gonjam, Haunted Asylum, and the dramas Psychopath Diary, Into the Ring, and Joseon Exorcist. Thanks to these projects, he proved his wide range as an actor, but recently he gained global popularity mostly with his roles as a villain in The Glory and Queen of Tears. This time, it seems like he's going back to being a good guy, as he will play one of the competitors in the game, Hyunju. Another competitor with the name Kyung-seok will be played by Lee Jin-wook. His career stretches back over 20 years, and he gained popularity in 2008 with his leading role in the drama City of Glass. He then went on to have notable appearances in successful series such as 9 and The Time We Were Not in Love. However, his career came to a halt in 2016 when a woman accused him of forcing himself on her. He denied the allegations, and a long legal battle followed. In the end, the court ruled that his relationship with the woman might not have been consensual, but since there was no proof of this and he didn't threaten her, he was deemed innocent, while the woman was arrested under the accusation of making false statements. This ruling became very controversial because of its odd reasoning, but the case was closed nevertheless. Despite receiving a lot of backlash, Jin-wook continued his career as if nothing ever happened, and played leading roles in dramas such as Voice Season 2 and Sweet Home. More recently, he played the male lead in Dear Hyeri, but many viewers expressed their discomfort with his appearance in this supposedly healing drama because of his past scandal and the way the case was closed. For the same reason, Jin-wook's appearance in Squid Game 2 is already controversial, and many netizens protested against Netflix for their decision to cast him. Park Yoo-young is instead one of the actresses fans are most excited to see in Squid Game 2. While she's still deemed a rising star, she has already appeared in several notable roles in popular dramas and earned a lot of praise for her performances. After making her debut in 2016, she got several small roles until 2020, when an appearance in It's Okay to Not Be Okay and a leading role in Sweet Home skyrocketed her career. She got various other major roles since then in dramas such as The Devil Judge, Dolly, and The Cocky Prince, Celebrity, and A Good Day to Be a Dog, which helped her cement her popularity. In Squid Game 2, she will play one of the competitors, and her role in the new season is rumored to be a major one. Another celebrity that netizens are curious to see is T.O.P., who will act as another one of the competitors. He's probably the most recognizable of all the new names in the cast, and he's well known as a member of the K-pop group Big Bang. However, he has announced his withdrawal from the group in 2023 in order to focus on other projects. While his career as a singer was flourishing, he also began acting, making his debut in the 2007 drama I Am Your Teacher. He then made a few more appearances in the series Iris and the movies 19 and 71, Into the Fire, for which he received a lot of praise and several awards. He went on to have a few more more successful roles in the movies Commitment and Taza 2, The Hidden Card, and the drama The Secret Message. His latest role was in the movie Out of Control in 2019, so Squid Game 2 will mark his return to acting after 5 years, and it will be interesting to see how his performance will be. T.O.P. isn't the only idol who will appear in the second season of Squid Game, as Jo Yuri is also set to play a major role as one of the competitors named Kim Junho. She's best known for being a member of IZ*ONE, a position she got after ranking third in the reality competition series Produce 48 in 2018. After the group's disbandment in 2021, Yuri began her solo career and immediately enjoyed some success with her debut album Glassy, which earned her nominations for Rookie of the Year and Best New Female Artist. She has released a few more albums and singles since then, and she also embarked on an acting career. She made her drama debut in 2022 in the series Mimicus and immediately impressed viewers with her skills. Fans and the public were especially thrilled when Park Sung Hoon was confirmed for Squid Game 2, eagerly anticipating how this role could be a major milestone in her acting journey. Junho's ex-boyfriend Lee Myunggi, who also joined the competition in Squid Game 2, will be played by Yim Shi-won. He also started his career as an idol when debuted with the boy group ZA in 2010, going on to enjoy some moderate success. Shi-won began acting soon after his debut as a singer and was praised for his performance in Moon Embracing the Sun in 2012. Over the following years, he got various supporting parts, and he built his reputation as a great actor thanks to his leading roles in dramas such as Triangle, Misang, Incomplete Life, and The King in Love. His career reached new heights starting in 2019 after his appearances in major roles in the popular series Strangers from Hell and Run On, which helped him become a recognizable name in the K-drama industry. Since then, he has appeared in a few more dramas such as Tracer, Summer Strike, and Boyhood. Meanwhile, he also impressed viewers with his performances in various movies, including The Merciless, Emergency Declaration, and Unlocked. Shi-won is now well known to K-drama fans, and netizens are looking forward to seeing him in Squid Game 2, especially after it was reported that he will be one of the main characters of the new season. But not every actor's rise has been smooth, as Park Sung Hoon's actions have raised a lot of eyebrows. Park Sung Hoon has been under the spotlight lately thanks to his notable role in the second season of Squid Game, but soon after the release of the show, he made a huge mistake that has the potential to ruin his career. Sung Hoon began his acting career in 2008 when he made his official debut in the movie A Frozen Flower, but then he struggled to find other roles for a few years. After taking some small parts here and there, he started to gain recognition between 2014 and 2016, appearing in the dramas 3 Days, Six Flying Dragons, and Jealousy Incarnate. His breakthrough came in 2018 when he had a leading role in the horror movie Ganjam Haunted Asylum, and then he started to appear more often in K-dramas. His popularity has reached new heights in the past few years, and he gained a lot of praise for his performance in villainous roles in The Glory and Queen of Tears. After enjoying one success after another, he became one of the most well-known names in the Korean entertainment industry, and his role in Squid Game 2 was meant to cement his popularity with a global audience. However, his appearance in this show has been marked by controversies. He plays the part of Hyun-ju, a former soldier and a transgender woman who takes part in the competition after spending all of her money on a gender-affirming surgery. As the game progresses, she slowly gains the trust of the other competitors, showing incredible strength and defeating the stereotypes about her. The decision to include a transgender character in the series has been praised by most netizens, especially considering how Korean society is generally very conservative. While this is surely a big step forward for the recognition of gender identity issues in Korea, many viewers have complained about the choice of casting Sung Hoon for this character. Netizens were upset that the production team missed the opportunity to cast a transgender actress, and many argued that having a cisgender man in this role isn't the right way to give representation to a minority group. The director of the series, Hwang Dong-hyuk, addressed this issue and explained that at first he wanted to cast a transgender actress. However, he wasn't able to find any actors who are openly trans in Korea since the LGBTQ community is still marginalized and discriminated against in the country. So the director argued that he had no other choice, and in the end, he opted to cast Sung Hoon. Despite this controversy, the performance of Sung Hoon in Squid Game 2 was highly praised, and he has won over viewers and critics. Many appreciated how he was able to give life to Hyun-ju, playing the role role gracefully and standing out as one of the most compelling characters in the new season. Countless fans made posts appreciating Sung Hoon's performance, with many saying that he carried the entire show and that Junho was their favorite character. With all these compliments pouring from all over the internet, Sung Hoon's popularity rose even more after the show came out, and he gained a ton of new followers on Instagram in the span of a few days. He could have just enjoyed the praise and his new global popularity, but just 4 days after the release of Squid Game 2, everything was ruined. On December 30th, Sung Hoon shared a story on Instagram with a photo of the cover of a Japanese adult parody of Squid Game, featuring actresses in explicit poses without any censorship. The post was immediately deleted, but at this point, it was too late, and a screenshot of the story began making the rounds online. Netizens were immensely disappointed with Sung Hoon for sharing this photo, and he was met with huge criticism, with many calling him disgusting and others pointing out that some of his underage followers might have seen the post. Some people online also looked deeper into the content of the parody posted by Sung Hoon, finding even more controversial details. Apparently, the adult material in question featured gruesome content in which the female characters are forced into explicit, non-consensual acts when they lose the games. Sung Hoon's company soon released a statement to explain the incident, and they argued that it was just an accident. According to them, Sung Hoon received a lot of DMs, and while checking the messages, he accidentally uploaded the controversial picture on his story. Sung Hoon apologized for the alleged mistake through this statement, promising that it would never happen again. This explanation didn't convince netizens, and many pointed out that it's impossible to accidentally upload a story while checking DMs on Instagram. Many believed that he probably saved the picture on this phone and re-uploaded it. Faced with even more backlash, Sung Hoon's company released an additional statement, arguing that it's true that he received the picture via DM and adding that he indeed saved it in his photo album. He then allegedly tried to send it to a company representative and accidentally uploaded a story instead. The agency added that Sung Hoon found the picture to be very problematic and didn't want such strange depictions of his work to be floating around on the internet, so he wanted to report it to his manager. This additional explanation confirmed that he lied in his first statement, and many felt like he was just trying to turn the incident in his favor by arguing that he wanted to report the disgusting picture, not share it. This didn't sit well with netizens, and some have already said that nothing he could do could redeem him from posting such awful content. Others argued that this explanation was just another lie, and he clearly just saved the picture to share it with his friends and then accidentally uploaded it online. Fans all over the world are now deeply disappointed with Sung Hoon, and many are pointing out that he was about to become a global superstar, but instead he just ruined his career. However, not everyone agrees with this sentiment, and while the initial reaction of most people online was shock and disgust after seeing the photo, many netizens have since come to Sung Hoon's defense. Some argued that the controversy isn't a big deal and is already resolved, saying that people should just move on, while others even criticized reporters for posting what they called sensational headlines. In any case, Sung Hoon might face a major setback in his career because of this controversy, and he's already losing all the admiration he gained over the past few years. Many netizens are calling for Sung Hoon to step down from his next project, the upcoming drama The Tyrant's Chef, which is set to be released in the second half of this year and has yet to begin filming. The show will feature Girls' Generation Yoona as the female lead, and her fans are now begging the production team to remove Sung Hoon from the cast. In fact, the scandal is already affecting the production of this drama, and the date of the script reading for the show has been postponed, apparently because of the ongoing controversy surrounding Sung Hoon. The production team actually argued that the event was postponed because of the national mourning period in South Korea following the horrific plane crash of December 29th, but the timing of the announcement, which was made only after the scandal exploded, seems suspicious. Also, the production team of The Tyrant's Chef refused to comment on the controversy, which added fuel to the fire. While losing this project would surely be bad for Sung Hoon's career, he might be facing even worse consequences than a simple career setback. In fact, he could soon have legal issues for posting the explicit photo. While possessing or viewing adult content isn't illegal in South Korea, posting or distributing such material online is subject to penalties. According to Korean law, people who distribute obscene material may face up to 1 year of imprisonment and a fine of 10 million won. Additionally, if the material he distributed is protected by copyright, he could also be accused of copyright infringement, which may result in more penalties. Things might get even more complicated for Sung Hoon if the adult content he shared is revealed to feature underage girls. If this is the case, just possessing or viewing the material would be considered a serious criminal offense. This controversy and its potential legal consequences add another entry to the long list of scandals involving the cast of Squid Game 2, especially its male actors. Some are even calling the show a criminal haven, pointing out how many members of the cast had issues with the law in the past. In 2000, Song Young-chang was charged with paying an underage girl to have a relationship with him, while Oh Dal-soo was accused of acting inappropriately towards a woman in 2018. Other cases are much more well-known, such as the controversy surrounding Lee Jin-wook, who was accused of forcing himself on a woman in 2016, or T.O.P. receiving a 10-month prison sentence suspended for 2 years for using illegal substances. Even the leading actor of the show, Lee Jong-jae, had a wide range of legal issues, from fraud to driving under the influence. Now, despite the heavy backlash against him, Song Hoon's follower count on Instagram is still increasing very fast. Before the controversy, he had 1.8 million followers, but that number has now risen to over 2.1 million, meaning that he gained over 300,000 new followers in just a few days. It remains to be seen how much the controversy will affect Song Hoon's career going forward, and if he will be able to overcome this scandal, but from the initial reactions, it seems like this will be unlikely. And he's not alone. A lot of fans have strong opinions about the season 2 cast, and they're not good. After the immense global success of the first season, the second season of Squid Game has been one of the most anticipated K-dramas of the year. However, there has been some controversy surrounding the casting choices, leading to the drama not achieving the results it was hoping to. Since most of the characters that appeared in the first season couldn't make it through the brutal challenges, the production team had to come up with a cast almost entirely composed of new actors. Among the few returning characters are the protagonist Song Gihun, played by Lee Jong-jae, the frontman portrayed by Lee Byung-hun, the police detective Hwang Junho, played by Wi Ha-jun, and the game recruiter, played by Gong Yoo. Except for these and a few others, the cast features a wide range of new faces, including several celebrities who are already quite popular. While many fans of the series have been excited to see the cast of the new season being slowly revealed over time, some of the casting choices have caused a lot of discussion online. Among these is the decision to include Song Young-chang in the role of one of the competitors. He enjoyed a successful career in the 1990s, but in 2000 he was found guilty of a crime involving a 16-year-old girl. According to the police investigation, the actor paid the teenager around $150 on 2 separate occasions. He was sentenced to 10 months of incarceration with 2 years probation, and he served a month in prison before being released to observe his probation period. After his release, he moved to Canada and returned to the Korean entertainment industry only many years later. He has appeared in several dramas since 2017, but due to his criminal past, he's still banned from most Korean TV channels. Another controversial actor cast for Squid Game 2 is Oh Dal-soo, who plays the role of the boat captain who is helping Junho find the island. In 2018, he was accused of acting inappropriately towards a woman, and after initially denying the allegations, he eventually issued an apology, taking responsibility for his actions. He then took a lengthy hiatus, and since the statute of limitations on his case expired without a formal investigation, he was deemed not guilty. Dal-soo has since returned to acting, but his past behavior has resurfaced after he was included in the cast of Squid Game 2, leaving fans feeling weird for even watching the show in the first place. One of the most controversial actors appearing in the second season of Squid Game is Lee Jin-wook. He plays the part of one of the competitors in the game who joins the competition to pay for the treatment of his daughter, who's terminally ill. While Jin-wook has enjoyed a successful acting career, his reputation has been deeply impacted by a scandal that exploded in 2016 when a woman accused him of forcing himself on her. He denied the allegations, and a long legal battle followed. In the end, the court ruled that his relationship with the woman might not have been consensual, but since there was no proof of this and he didn't threaten her, he was deemed innocent, while the woman was arrested under the accusation of making false statements. The odd reasoning behind this decision has caused a lot of discussion, and to this day, many feel that Jin-wook was actually guilty and shouldn't even have a career. Despite this, Jin-wook continued acting and appearing in numerous successful projects as if nothing happened. Nevertheless, he couldn't escape the shadow of his controversy, as it resurfaced earlier this year when he was announced as the male lead of Dear Hyeri. Since this drama was marketed as a healing series, many viewers expressed their discomfort with his appearance, which was deemed as traumatizing rather than healing. For the same reason, when netizens found out that Jin-wook would appear in Squid Game 2, many protested against Netflix for their decision to cast him and even announced their decision to boycott the show because of this. He isn't the only member of the cast who had legal issues in the past, and some controversy also surrounds the decision to include former Big Bang member T.O.P. in the role of the rapper Thanos. While T.O.P.'s career as an idol flourished, he also began acting, and he soon started to receive a lot of praise for his performances. In 2017, he started his mandatory military service, serving as a policeman, but just a few months later, it was reported that he was being investigated for using illegal substances. Just a few days after this news was revealed, T.O.P. was found unconscious and was rushed to the hospital in critical condition, apparently after taking too many tranquilizers. After 3 days in intensive care, he regained consciousness and slowly began his recovery. This made the accusations against him even more evident, and because of the ongoing investigation, T.O.P. was discharged from his position as a policeman. At the trial, he pleaded guilty to all charges, and he received a 10-month prison sentence, suspended for 2 years. He finished his probation period without further offenses, and he was able to complete his mandatory military service in 2019. After receiving his sentence, T.O.P. expressed regret for his behavior, but some people haven't forgiven him, and many protested the decision to include him in the cast of Squid Game 2. In fact, among all the other cast members who faced accusations of much more serious crimes, T.O.P. was one of the most hated ones, with netizens strongly protesting the decision to include him in the show. The backlash got so big that the director of the series, Hwang Dong-hyuk, commented on this controversy, expressing his surprise. He explained that he didn't expect so much pushback against T.O.P.'s casting since a lot of time has passed since his controversy, and he has already completed his sentence. He added that many artists have returned from similar scandals, so he didn't think that his appearance in Squid Game 2 would be inappropriate. The director continued to defend his choice by explaining that T.O.P. showed a strong commitment to his role and demonstrated his effort and talent numerous times on the set. Nevertheless, many netizens were still skeptical about his casting, with some saying that they wouldn't even watch the show, and others adding that casting a talented rookie would have been a better choice for the role. While this controversy was ongoing, Netflix kept releasing promotional material for the second season of Squid Game, and many noticed that T.O.P. was absent from the new poster of the show, and he was even removed from the official list of cast members. He was prominently featured in the initial trailers, so it was weird that he was suddenly nowhere to be seen in the promotional material. Many netizens suspected that maybe Netflix was trying to distance themselves from T.O.P. as the release of the new season was approaching. Things didn't get better after the release of the series, as many viewers found his performance quite weak, with some reviews even stating that his lack of acting skills ruined the immersion in the show. Some netizens complained by saying that the decision to cast him is inexplicable unless it's attributed to his connections and close relationships with other members of the cast of Squid Game 2. One critic added that casting a real singer in the role of a rapper wasn't necessary, and the decision to cast T.O.P. is even more difficult to understand after seeing his performance. Another huge controversy surrounds the decision to cast Park Sung Hoon in the role of Junho, one of the competitors in the game. However, this time, no one is complaining about his acting skills or his criminal record. Rather, the problem is the nature of the character he's playing. Junho is a former soldier and a transgender woman who's still transitioning and decides to join the game after spending all of her money on a gender-affirming surgery. During the course of the challenges, she shows incredible strength and determination and slowly gains the trust of the other competitors, despite their prejudice against her. The inclusion of a transgender character in a Korean drama is already a big deal, since South Korea is usually a very conservative country where gender issues are still often considered taboo, and many oppose same-sex marriage, which isn't legally recognized. In fact, some more conservative netizens have protested the presence of this character and even complained that the show is prioritizing representation over realism. While these arguments have been mostly dismissed as an awful case of transphobia, the character has still been surrounded by controversy. While the decision to have a transgender character in such a prominent show is surely a big step forward for the LGBTQ community in South Korea, many viewers are upset because the production team missed the opportunity to cast a transgender actress in the role. Some netizens have complained that casting a cisgender man pretending to be a transgender woman isn't the right way to give representation to a minority group. However, many have pointed out that it would have been very difficult to find a transgender woman who's active in the entertainment industry of South Korea. One netizen explained that because of this, in Korean dramas, queer characters are still often played by cisgender actors, and including these characters is already a huge step forward that should be praised. Nevertheless, Sung Hoon and the production team of Squid Game 2 have faced a lot of backlash for this, and the director decided to address the issue directly. He explained that he expected the character and the casting choice to be controversial, and revealed that while doing his research, he initially wanted to hire a transgender actress. However, his search was unsuccessful because unfortunately, there are close to no actors who are openly trans or gay in South Korea, and the LGBTQ community in the country is still marginalized and neglected. So ultimately, he decided to hire Sung Hoon. The director added that while the decision wasn't one he wanted to make, there was nothing he could do. Whether it's because of these decisions or because of other issues that netizens found while watching, the new season of Squid Game has received mixed reviews, and all the controversies surrounding the actors and characters surely didn't help. Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss the next one.